Hey guys, welcome to another edition of 20 Pictures, the Slideshow show. And we're on camera this time.
What?
I
No,
know,
not.
we're so famous and we're so animated, but we're actually going to experiment with webcams this time instead of just a slideshow with our voices. So hi, I'm Chris O'Mealy. And
This
that's
is Dan.
that's
Yeah.
Dan.
Okay.
I think that's Dan. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to be looking all over the place here. So I'm kind of trying to look at you guys right now, but I have a two monitor setup and the picture slideshow is going to be on one side and the recording is on this side and you guys are
Well,
in the
yeah, we
middle.
did spent over a half hour trying to figure out how to do this exactly right. So
This is an experimental episode. All the previous ones obviously have just been slideshows with our voices over it. We're kind of experimenting with the Discord screen share here to see how this goes.
because I got a camera, thanks to our wonderful patrons at patreon.com/Club Kayfabe. And
Yes, come become a
so
patron. Become a patron.
that got me that. And
Which,
probably later this summer, I might need a new capture card so I can be doing streams, but we'll find out.
but you know what? Whenever you see videos like this, it doesn't matter because in interviews, the person's always kind of doing this anyway. So it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
It is weird seeing, because with the Rona stuff in the last year, seeing experts and stuff being called from home, and you see the computer behind them,
I
and
know,
you're
it's
just like,
so weird.
you're
It's
like,
so
they
weird.
did a whole TV studio setup on half of their
They really did,
place.
yeah. But it's fine. The focus should not be on the two of us here. You guys should be staring at the pictures. So, the last time I did one of these for Dan, I don't know if it was the last time, but it's been a while since we've done one of these.
It's been a while.
6 months exactly, as Dan happily pointed out and made me
That's what
realize.
YouTube said.
Yeah,
So
so we've been neglecting this quite a bit. Um, but I did one with Dan where I had you react to the 20 greatest female wrestlers of all time, right?
oh yeah, that was a few ago.
Yes. So what I've done here is I've modernized women's wrestling, and I've come up with 20 pictures involving modern women's wrestling for you to react to.
Okay.
And what made this fun is instead of just picking 20 wrestlers, I just picked 20 photos. Almost all of them have multiple wrestlers in it. So there's plenty for you to react to.
Okay.
So are you ready for your slideshow?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to hit the button now and go to the first picture.
So this is current women's wrestlers. It is the four horsewomen WWE, not to be confused with MMA, who are
That's
also
right.
WWE.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So yes, the four horsewomen of the WWE. Anything you'd like to say about these four ladies?
If it wasn't for them, women's wrestling in WWE might still be the drizzling shits. Because it really, the turnaround started with AJ, and then as she was leaving, Paige came in, and then as Paige was career was ending early, these four come busting through to the
Right.
main roster.
All right.
So
But
instead of there being one good women's wrestler on the entire main roster, there was four all of a sudden at one time.
and what was kind of crazy was how they all got called up together, almost all together. Three of them came up together, and then Bailey came
Yeah,
up
not
later
Bailey.
that year.
But yeah, Bailey was still NXT champ at the time.
But it's not like any of these girls are bad either. These are four of the top workers in the whole company. They're all excellent wrestlers. They have excellent personalities. They have great gimmicks. Is there really anything negative you can say about the four horsewomen?
I mean, not about them themselves, no.
No. Okay. So yeah, so I thought that would be an appropriate first one to start with here. The four horsewomen of modern women's wrestling. Let's go to our next picture.
This is the new version of Alexa Bliss that has been affected by the Fiend in the last 5-6 months.
She's kind of doing what that Sister Abigail gimmick was supposed to be, but they never really did that properly.
Which is funny because I remember watching a What Culture video from a few years ago about how to do Sister Abigail, and they picked Alexa Bliss to play the part.
And here you go. There she is.
But the fact that she wasn't actually going to be Sister Abigail, she's going to just use that as a way to have power over Bray Wyatt forever.
She's not Sister Abigail. She's just, I don't know, channeling Sister Abigail. I'm not really sure exactly what they're doing, but it's
I don't
working.
Watch the product.
No, but you can still be familiar, especially with her.
But she's reinvented herself twice very, very well. Because when she came out first, she was like the cheerleader. Remember, glitter, glitz, sparkle, bliss.
Yes. She was Tinkerbell.
And then she was fucking evil.
She was a mean girl.
And now she's crazy.
And now she's crazy. She's also still really young, so she's got a long road ahead of her if she can stay healthy. That's key. That's actually very key.
Well, Lana had lots of issues in training. It took her a long time. She had issues with bumps. I remember hearing.
Yeah, she couldn't.
She was just always hurt.
To just take a basic back bump.
That it was hurting her more than normal for whatever reason. She has some kind of wrist issue or something.
Something like that. That
it was just way more painful.
I mean, she's doing well for herself. She has a good character. She doesn't feel like she's phoning it in or anything. But she's still...
now just the point where I feel bad because her husband is in another company.
She's also still not Yeah, she's also still not that good. But
god damn it, she's hot, so she's gonna stay here forever.
Yeah, but she's a pretty blonde, so she's got a job for life here.
For life. Hey, here's the two girls I was talking about earlier. This is the tag match against the Bella Twins at WrestleMania or whatever. Yes. Was it Bella Twins?
Yep, Bella Twins.
So this is like a year later after the debut, the day after WrestleMania, where she beat AJ for the title. Everyone's like, yay! And then everyone's like, Paige sucks. And it was like, no, she doesn't. She's been wrestling longer than you've been alive. Shut up.
Well, her babyface character went nowhere. You know what I always equated that run to? It was kind of like what they did with Santino Marella. They brought him in as a babyface with no personality, turned him heel, and then he became one of the hottest things immediately. And that was exactly what happened with Paige. She came in as a babyface. She had nothing going for her. They turned her heel, and there she is. All of a sudden, she's the queen. So, I mean, that works for me.
And for me too. And as like I said, they were instrumental in paving the way for the way things are now. They opened the doors so the Four Horsewomen and company could bust through and fully change things.
They were kind of that last generation of female talent that really opened up that door. They were the ones that were part of the big revolution.
Yeah. I mean, there was a handful of good women's wrestlers before them. When there was like Mickey and Beth and all them.
Yes.
But then there was the Little Diva started.
I miss AJ. She was fantastic. And once all the stuff with CM Punk went down, I knew it wasn't going to be long before she said, to hell with this.
Yeah. And she retired, and she's been fully retired this entire time.
And she's doing comic books now.
Yeah, she's writing a D&D comic book, actually.
Which is pretty freaking cool.
Year.
Pretty freaking cool.
They found like history of like a head Viking that was a woman, and they were reading up on her, and so they wrote a story in D&D heavily inspired by it, and she's one of the lead writers on it. And I'm sure that series might even be over by now because it was supposed to come out in the fall, and I'm sure like 6 or 10 issues would have happened by now. So
yeah, but they're both retired now. Although I know Paige might actually come back because we've seen people retire from serious injuries and
We've
come
seen
back.
people come back from brain damage
Yes,
recently.
that's true.
We've actually
That's
just
true.
had Christian Cage's back from heavy concussion, brain damage related injuries too. So,
And at 47 years old too. So
yeah.
Paige, who's still young, I don't even think she's hit 30 yet.
No, dude, there was the issue because she was ready to move up and she was still 19.
Yeah.
So, like, when she moved up, I think she was only 20 still.
We'll see. We'll
So,
see what's going to happen with her. She is really good, though.
she's got to be only like 26 at this point.
I'd like to see her return full time, but we'll see.
The Bella twins.
Go ahead. Honest opinion on the Bella twins.
Well, of course, they were hired out of the Hawaiian Tropic catalog by Johnny Ace, who then married their mother.
Don't you love the irony behind that? Those are his daughter-in-laws now.
I was jerking it to your daughters, so the Hawaiian Tropic catalog.
Oh no, not daughter-in-laws, stepdaughters. Stepdaughters. And yeah, I kind of thought your stepdaughters were hot, so I hired them. And now they call me daddy.
You guys are like my family.
You guys are like my family. Oh my god.
And so their first run, pretty much worthless diva trash.
Their first run was just the obvious you guys are twins gimmick. Like there was nothing more to it than that. Just you guys are twins.
So they won because they cheated all the time because they swapped places.
Twin magic, which
then they disappeared for like a year and a half, 2 years. They came back with Nikki with some enhancements.
Yes.
And they were still pretty shitty. And then they started dating wrestlers, and it looked like they started giving a fuck, and they both got better.
So I actually just read their book because my wife got it and really liked it. And, she's a big fan of theirs. I was like, all right, I'm going to check this out. Not only do they have a very depressing story that makes you genuinely feel sorry for them and all the crap that they went through, but you realize that they actually always did give a shit. They were just, in a lot of cases, working with the crap that they were given and making the most of it. And their time to walk away was because nothing else was happening. And then when they came back, it was, we're gonna take this place by storm, and we're gonna show you guys that women are more powerful than you think. And it was that match with Paige and Emma that the Give Divas a Chance thing started, and they were at the forefront of that revolution.
Because their match was given like a minute.
Not even, it was like 20-something. It was like a 20-something second match, and everybody booed as a result. And Paige and Emma are hugely talented. Tennille Dashwood. She will not be appearing in this slideshow, by the way. I'll let you know that right now. I can only cover so much ground in 20 pictures.
Sir, not appearing in this film.
And there is a heavy influence on WWE in this slideshow. You'll notice, because that's where a lot of the more talented women are. But I have some mixes in there. She just wasn't going to be one of the ones to make the cut. But I wanted to include them because I think that in a lot of ways they got a negative rep because of who they were with. And that if you actually listen to their story, they explain the timing of their push and how it was given to them. It just so coincidentally happened that that's when they were dating wrestlers. And Nikki even said, she goes, I know that this push is going to be influenced by the fact that I'm dating this guy. She doesn't even say his name in the book either. I don't know how bad that breakup was or if that's a respect thing, but the time.
Well, I mean, it was awful. Everyone knew about it the entire time, and then they did this stupid WrestleMania thing.
Oh yeah, well, we'll get started on that. But
so dumb.
After reading their story, I'm right here on camera on YouTube saying it. I think the Bellas get undeserved heat. There are some things that I can go with, like their real life, like if you want to harass their real life attitudes or whatever. But in a way, I think they took a lot more heat than they deserved. So I'll happily defend the Bella Twins. Especially Brie, because she was more of the genuine fan and kind of dragged Nikki into it. Not that Nikki didn't become a fan, but Brie was the OG wrestling fan.
I mean, they definitely got decent to good in their second run.
They did, yeah.
Brie definitely better, but yeah.
Hey, that match that Brie had with Stephanie is one of the best women's matches I've ever seen. And they didn't even
At
do
the
that much in it.
SummerSlam,
Yeah.
she's such a bitch.
I wish she would have died in the womb. Which
Oh, then
legit.
that happened right after was
Oh
too
yeah.
dumb.
Hey, which almost happened because Brie did almost die in the womb. So there you go.
That's fun. It's the Riot Squad.
3 girls that I know you're a fan of.
One of them is a mother now.
Yes, and quote unquote retired from wrestling.
Yes.
I don't know how much I believe
I
that.
think it should probably come back a couple of years, probably.
Probably. So we got Ruby Riot, formerly known as Heidi Lovelace.
Yes.
Sarah Logan in the middle. That was formerly Crazy Mary Dobson.
Crazy Mary, yeah.
And Liv Morgan. And I think hers was
Marley.
Marley.
Yes.
Her something Daddio.
Yeah, Gianna
Daddio, yeah. And well, Liv used to work at the Hooters I used to watch pay-per-views at.
Oh yeah.
Yes. I don't recall if she was ever my waitress, but she was 100% waitressing there while I was going there. So I have more than likely been there while she was working. I just don't really remember, but all 3 of them very talented. They all
Ruby Riot was former Chikara Young Lions Cup champion.
Yes.
While Kimberly was the Mega champion.
Yep.
At the same time.
So you know a lot about a lot of the indie careers of these girls too, whereas I don't, because you follow the indies more closely than I do. But I remember specifically when they said they hired Crazy Mary Dobson. I remember you in particular were excited about that.
Yeah, man.
Because I
she
know
didn't get
she
to
had
really
some
go into it very much, but like she was very horror influenced, and so she would be like wearing a Jason mask and stuff, or
But I kind of like
Jason inspired stuff like that.
I kind of like the Viking role she ended up taking when she married one of the oh my god, the War Machine guys. I don't even remember what they're called now. The Viking Raiders or something like that.
Viking Raiders, I think.
Yeah, because they were the Viking Experience, and that didn't work. That's right, because they were the War Raiders, and then Experience was kind of stupid, so they dropped that.
And they were War Machine in the Indies and New Japan.
Yeah, and that was awesome, but
yeah, they're like, do we want Rhino and that weird MMA guy that threw a fit that time? Who ended up being like a rapist or a murderer or whatever. Like, we don't need to do that. But apparently her actual life is very Viking inspired from what I've heard and seen on Instagram.
Yeah. So there you go.
Her and Raymond Rowe. I don't know if he is Eric or Ivar, whichever one they are.
I believe. Oh my god! I believe he's Eric. I believe he's Eric, but I don't actually know. It's Raymond Rowe, though. We'll just put it at that.
Raymond Rowe.
And that's the other thing. I'm okay with the name changes when they come to WWE, even though sometimes they're really stupid. But can you do it before they come up to the main roster? Is that really asking too much?
Oh, there's times where you watch somebody in NXT and they're in their indie name for like a month and then they just suddenly switch it.
Yeah. That's kind of like what they did with Kenta when he came in. He came in as Kenta, and then in the promo, he turned it into Hideo Itami. I was okay with that because that made sense.
Together.
That makes sense. I don't have an issue with that. But be consistent with what you're doing. That's.
But then there's like the things where like they're about to sign or they just signed, so they put him in the crowd for a thing for the takeover, and they're like, "It's Kana." And she debuted as Asuka.
It's Prince Devitt. And now, but we also knew he was changing his name because he had announced that he was changing his name. So when he came out, they put Fergal Devitt up on the screen, and then they altered it to say Finn Balor. Fergal. Yes, but yes, great talented women.
There's 3 of my favorites.
Speaking of talented women.
We got Io, who kept her name. Kairi, who got her last name changed, and Asuka, who had completely name changed.
What was it?
Because Kana is part of her real name.
Yeah. Well, what was it? Kairi Vane, right?
She was Kairi Hojo.
Kairi Hojo.
So they made her Kairi Sane. And of course, Asuka was Kana before, which is part of her name, Kanako Arai. And Io Shirai is Io Shirai. Io Shirai. Watanabe soon, maybe?
Maybe?
She's with Evil, and they've been together a long time, and they are engaged. So everything is evil, including Io Shirai, the NXT Women's Champion.
Everything is evil. But here's the thing about Japanese women wrestling is that a lot of them start when they're kids.
Yeah, because there's companies over there of 12-year-old girls.
Yeah. And so they hit their early 20s and they've already got 10 years of experience in the ring. Of course, I think even over there, there's still a maturity factor you have to get over. But with a little bit of polishing, we've seen what that can do for somebody who comes into a training program like NXT, where it's very serious and they put you through all these drills. And then here come these three girls who already have the talent. They just need the polishing. And now they're three of the best wrestlers that they have. Yes, Kairi is no longer involved because she wanted to return home. But Asuka's on top on the main roster and Io Shirai's on top in NXT. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Kairi was in a tag team with both of them at one point, right?
Yep.
Because there was
Sky Pirates.
Pirates and then the Kabuki Warriors.
Yeah.
So does that mean that Io will come up, tag team with Asuka, and become the Kabuki Pirates? Which would be way cooler than the Sky Warriors, just as an opinion.
Yes, but also like she wasn't the pirate part of the tag team though.
No, she wasn't.
Hey, remember when Kairi Sane was into boating?
Yes.
And then at one point, what was it? Corey Grace father said, "Shit, a fucking pirate, Cole."
I don't think he said the F word though.
I don't think he said that either. You know, Io Shirai was on Lucha Underground.
Yes, she was, wasn't she?
She was one when Black Lotus returned and she had the three girls with her that were completely covered head to toe, ninjas. Yeah. She was one of them.
That's right. I think I remember you telling me about that when that happened. But
I was like, Io Shirai is one of them. Watch her. She's fucking awesome.
And don't be shy about it, Dan. I know you like the Asian cuties.
Yeah, well.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Kairi's married and Io is with Evil. So they were best friends and now they just want to kill each other. So sad.
Except they're still 100% best friends.
I think they still live together.
They do.
They even live together still.
Far as I know, yeah. Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Both of them came from the same season of Tough Enough, actually.
Yes.
The one that had
Amanda Sakamono, whatever.
Saka something, yeah.
Mandy Sachs.
Mandy Sachs.
And Daria Baranato. See, I didn't watch that Tough Enough season, but shortly after, there was like a weird video on .com or YouTube of them making Christmas cookies and like getting into like a,
yeah, I remember that.
Fight. Getting into a fight with ingredients. And it's literally like Daria wakes up and she's like, "It's Christmas time!"
They're like watching Home Alone or something. I remember that too.
Yeah, like in their bunny slippers and stuff, yeah. And I was like, this is awesome. Daria Baronato's going to be a star. I love her. And it's like, she's a lesbian, right? And I'm like, God damn it!
Well, that was the thing, is they picked up Mandy Rose and they put her on Total Divas for a season. So they could do the rookie thing. Because they had already done that once before when they had JoJo and Eva Marie.
Yeah.
So I think they wanted to do that again, except this time they had a girl who would actually become a star and actually knew what she was doing and gave a shit about what she was doing. And they debuted. I remember I've actually watched their debut match a couple of times on NXT because it was Alexa Bliss and Carmella had both been called up to the main roster at this point, and they both came back to do a 6-man tag or a 6-woman tag with a bunch of debuting girls. And Carmella was the babyface. So on her team, she had Nikki Glencross, who was Nikki Cross, and Liv Morgan.
Yeah, she was still Glencross, right? Yeah.
Yep, and Liv Morgan, who we'd seen her a couple of times, but she hadn't been doing much just yet. And then
I don't think she had an actual contract yet at that point.
And then Alexa came back and teamed up with these two. Daria as her real name. And Mandy was already Mandy Rose at the time. And then they got called up. They've been aligned. They've feuded. But they've both developed into their own characters. Sonya just came back after a hiatus from a crazy stalker. And she's doing an authority figure role. And Mandy's kind of got her own thing going on. Although, since I haven't been following recently, I don't know what happened with her storyline with Otis. But I think Otis turned heel, so I don't think they're doing anything with that anymore. But
I remember The Miz guested on that Tough Enough, and he gave Mandy Jax his immunity.
Oh, yeah, because she's hot.
Because she's hot.
Velveteen Dream was on that Tough Enough as well. Patrick Clark.
Yes.
He was the guy who was pulling for the win.
They did the Japanese, the Japan show that was on the network, right? That house show that they were like, well, Brock's going to be at the show. And you know what we're going to do? We'll have Finn Balor beat KO for the NXT title as well. But it's in Japan, so it's at 3 a.m. And I remember, I didn't watch it live.
I actually did. I got up early. Well, now I'm getting up at 5 a.m. regularly for work. But I got up.
But I remember, on Insta or Twitter, that he stayed up, and he was the only one in the house that did.
Yes. Because he actually gave a shit about wrestling. So.
Oh, a bunch of the Aussie girls. There's even more of them now, but oh my goodness.
These are the main ones, though.
So we got Rhea Ripley and the Iconics, Toni Storm.
Rhea Ripley is going to be a huge name in professional wrestling.
You know, she's only 23 as well.
Yeah. If she stays healthy, she's going to be one of the biggest women wrestling stars. She's going to go down as one of the top women wrestling stars of this generation. These couple of years, this decade kind of thing. Because she's so freaking good. Everything she does looks great and looks real. I'm still a little salty about them breaking up the Iconics because I still think they had a lot going for them. And I don't really think they've broken out as single stars the way they want them to.
They wanted Peyton to become a star, and they immediately gave up on her, and now Billy's the one that's a highlight, but it's not for the wrestling.
No, but she's doing a great gimmick. And then Toni Storm is also going to be huge, too, because she is insanely talented, and every match she's had in NXT has been gold. So...
They just need her to be a more regular feature. I think, but
for sure. But
I think the issue is that she's living in Japan with Juice Robinson. And so her coming over to do shows is a thing.
Yes.
Because she's over in Japan all the time.
But again, I would keep my eye on these 4 because I think they all have pretty bright futures.
Samina, who just can't seem to stay healthy.
Which is a real shame too, because she's got the right look and the pedigree for this position, and I don't know why she's never booked as a strong big girl wrestler like I think she should be. And then
it's because she's a snooker, so she has to finish with the splash.
Yeah,
when it's just she should be doing power bombs,
moves. Yeah.
And
well, her splash can be super devastating if it's the only things that she's doing in that position. Right? Because she's bigger, so her splash could, with ring psychology as a factor,
like a Vader Bam Bam situation,
right? She should be crushing these girls. But Naomi, I've always felt, has been underutilized because she's extremely talented. She's
I
so
remember when
good.
she first showed up, and she was on the season NXT where it was women, right? When it was
Yes.
when it was the tryout reality show thing. You actually can see my things now because we're on cam. Yeah.
Yeah, the trial season.
When I saw her
Trial
on that
season.
season, I was like, she's super athletic. She could do just about anything. She could be like the female Shelton Benjamin, where you could just put her with anyone. It'd be great.
There've
She's
been a
gonna
lot
do.
of comparisons with her to Shelton Benjamin, and that's a huge compliment for her because Shelton has always had that reputation of being so good at everything he does, and he never has a bad match. I saw this recently. It was one of those things where it's like, who was the best member of the OVW class of 2002? And it was, the choices were Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, Dave
John
Bautista,
Cena,
and John
Batista,
Cena.
yeah.
And I was like, none of the above. The correct answer is Shelton Benjamin because he was better than all of them, but he's gotten the least push as a result. And here's the other thing. Naomi has a character. Naomi can cut promos. She's got the glow thing going on. People are into that. People get into it. So I don't know why she doesn't get a bigger push than she does, other than the fact that there's just so many other talented girls on the roster that it really is that competitive.
Well, she won the title and was going to get her WrestleMania moment as champion, and she got hurt. Then they just gave her the title away.
Yeah.
And then she was okay by WrestleMania, so they just had her win the Battle Royal instead.
Yeah.
And it was just like, why they always like do that? Like, she was fine by WrestleMania, right? And then it was like, I guess you can't dilly dally. You have to build WrestleMania. You can't wait. Someone's gonna be okay the night before WrestleMania.
No, you're right.
But holy shit!
You're right. It's a shame.
And everyone was so over. So everyone was so like into it with her finally winning the title and everything. And it was a lot like the build for Kofi, right? Like, he just all of a sudden they were like, hey, you know who's fucking great and should be champion by now? Kofi
Kingston.
Let's do it. And it's kind of like what she did a few years earlier, except for she got hurt and then they overreacted. And then has she been champion since? Like, maybe once?
Maybe once, yeah. I like that glow belt that she had. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, future's still bright.
The other 4 horsewomen.
Well, you did say they were technically WWE, because 3 of them are still there.
They're technically WWE still. You think Ronda's done? You think Ronda's not going to come back?
I think she is. I think she'll come back probably when there's fans again. Because I wouldn't bring Ronda Rousey back until you have a live audience to react to her.
Well, you know,
same thing with like a Brock Lesnar or something.
For her to build, right? And like, doesn't matter because you're not drawing anybody because you can't draw anybody.
But that's just it. I would 100% keep her off TV until there are people there to react to her. Shayna Baszler's doing great.
Yeah, they utilizing her right now. She's tag champs.
She's one of those best improved too, because I remember for a while she just wasn't very good, and she's really kicked up her game recently.
Well, I remember when she showed up to the Shimmer show. It was at WrestleMania weekend. I don't remember which one, but she was there. Actually, all 4 of them were at. But Shayna comes out at one point and she says, "I'm officially changing to be a professional wrestler. My first match will be at the next Shimmer show in May."
That's
so
crazy.
They're like, "Oh shit!"
And then
shortly after, Marina and
Jessamine got signed. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with the 2 of them. The last time I saw them was when I checked out that Raw Underground, and I know that they were on that as 2 of the females beating up the other women, but I don't know if they're not improving.
I remember hearing several times that they were like super into Marina, that she would be better than all of them or whatever.
I've heard that too. She's also married to Roderick Strong, who's one of the best pure wrestlers that they have.
He's another guy, like we were talking about with Shelton, and like, he'll do whatever you need. He doesn't have a bad match. Throw him out there for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, he's so good. And he was a guy, because I'd been to a bunch of Ring of Honor shows that he was at, and he was always just no charisma type of guy. Good worker, no charisma. And then he comes here, and it turns out, like Sami Zayn, all of a sudden he's got charisma. You're like, where the hell that come from? And he's friggin' great. So he'll be a big star, and I think eventually we're gonna get that 4 horsewomen match that we've always wanted. Once Ronda comes back and once Becky comes back, I think we'll eventually get it, and maybe at Survivor Series in front of people, because all of them want to do it. So it's got to happen at some point. Don't let this be another Undertaker versus Sting where it just never happens. It's a perfect opportunity. They're all there, and they're all accessible, and they can all still go. Nobody's got a debilitating injury. Nobody signed with All Elite Wrestling. Don't make the mistake.
Natty, who's been around so long that you've seen her become a total joke and then bounce back a few times.
A few times is putting it lightly, yeah. She's so insanely talented, and yet
she's been around since 05 on the main roster.
Yeah, her thing is that she's the
no, 06, sorry.
She's the
utilitarian. They came in for ECW.
She's the utilitarian, right? She's there to make everybody else look good and to train everybody to be good.
Yeah.
But she doesn't get the pushes that she deserves.
I'm guessing like she's like what Victoria was around the time when Natty came in.
Yeah.
Where she was the measuring stick to see, are you good enough or not?
Yeah.
Do you belong here? Because I remember seeing like hella independent women come in for pre-show dark matches or like heats and stuff, and they would wrestle Victoria. Like I remember one particular weekend where cheerleader Melissa did Shimmer shows and then had to leave before the last Shimmer show was over to get to Vegas to wrestle Victoria on a heat.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And I kind of like that's what Natty is at this point, because she's been in the company for 15
Forever.
years.
Yeah,
15 years now.
A long time.
So
because when they started Total Divas, when the Bellas first came back, they put Natty on there, and her role on the show was she was the veteran. Right? It was the Bellas are the Bellas are the stars, Natty's the veteran, Naomi's the up and comer, and well, I guess
JoJo and Eva Marie are the brand new
rookies.
girls.
I guess Cameron would have been considered an up and comer too, even though she was terrible. Notice how she's not on here, by the way. There's a reason for that.
Dakota Kai, Evie, one of my favorites. And no, I've known Candice LeRae for a long time too.
Candice LeRae's been around for a while.
Yeah, because I remember, because when I came back to watching wrestling in 2005, and I was like, I need to watch some indie stuff, and so I was watching a lot of Chikara, and I was watching a lot of PWG, because those were the two best indies at the time. IMHO, not kind of like ROH.
So I was getting really into Candice LeRae matches shortly after she got signed, because I'd followed her career as well. And I remember I was posting something on Twitter about her and Johnny Gargano, which of course everybody knows that they're married and are a thing. And I remember my friend Heather kept liking stuff that I'd post about them and then liking stuff that they would post, and she had followed both of them. And I didn't think she was really into wrestling. So I asked her the one day, I said, hey, you're not really like a wrestling person, but how do you actually know these two? And it was because she used to work at the Think Geek store in Orlando, and they used to come in all the time. And she said they were the absolute nicest people in the world. And I knew that that she didn't really follow wrestling, because she had posted the picture on the Think Geek store of Zack Ryder buying something and had no idea who he was. And then when she posted it, everybody was reacting. Woo, 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 you know it. And... By the way, I love that they named their dog Padme, which is awesome. And then, yeah, Dakota Kai is absolutely fantastic. I thought it was a missed opportunity to turn her heel at first because I didn't think they had capitalized on her babyface role, and she's such a natural babyface. I didn't really get it. And now that I've seen her heel, I totally understand why they took that chance with her, because she's killing it. But these girls are great, and I can't wait to see them on the main roster.
And she was one of the first NXT women's tag champs, and immediately dropped the belt.
Immediately dropped the belt. Yep. That was quick.
You know what? Oh yeah, she's a big gamer, and she's in with the New Legacy boys, who I've been in with like 10 years, man. Oh.
They're both big gamers, actually. Candace too.
Yeah.
So,
and since like Candace would work at PWG, and she was the only girl there, so that tells you she was working the men.
Yep.
And she was having bangers, man.
The only negative thing about Candice LeRae is that she was in with the dick guy, but after what's happened with him, that is a negative thing now, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about talented women.
Now, Bianca Belair was the drizzling shits and a horrible person for quite a while. And in the last year or so,
changed. Yeah.
In the last year or so, she's turned herself around.
Now she's like one of the sweetest people, and she might be the best pure athlete female talent that they have at the moment. She 100% deserved that Royal Rumble win, and she did it from number 3, just like another famous wrestler did in 1992.
Who is that?
I don't know. Some guy who
goes won
16 world titles or something like that.
Some guy that apparently, to many people who make signs and use the internet, says who?
Who? Yeah, I know. Oh, that drives me nuts. Who? There's no H in that.
Who?
There's no H in that, damn it. But yeah.
I guess Bianca went from 3, dude. Like crazy.
She was going to defeat Sasha Banks at WrestleMania and be women's champion. I'm calling it now.
Yeah.
Although I also said the same thing about Asuka, and I ended up being wrong. But if there's one time I don't want my favorite women's wrestler, Sasha Banks, to win a match, it would be this one. Bianca deserves it, and I'm really looking forward to it. And somebody had pointed this out, because I remember calling out Bianca for being really shitty, and basically saying that she was my least favorite person on the active roster. And I've said that about a couple of people who I've then turned around on. People were like, oh, you know what you used to say about Bianca, right? I'm like, yeah, I used to say the same thing about, and then I would just name people. And I've turned around on lots of people. I've also turned against lots of people, too, who were once my favorite. I probably turned on Matt Hardy at least 5 times. Between him being my favorite thing and then my least favorite thing. Both of those when he was broken. Both of them.
I've been a big Matt Hardy fan, and then there was a point where he was in the Indies, not 05, but after that.
Yep.
And he did the video where it was like, R.I.P. Matt Hardy.
Oh my God, that was another turn.
And I was like, okay, no, he's like faking the suicide thing. That's you're done. That's a no.
I remember the broken thing was at one point my favorite thing in all of wrestling, and then my least favorite thing in all of wrestling, just because, too much of a thing can be a bad thing. You know that. Yeah. If it's working and it's working really well, eventually somebody ruins it. Whether it's him or whether it's the company he's working for, somebody ruins it. It was the same thing with The Fiend. It was at one point the best thing, then it was at one point the worst thing. Now, not really sure right now what it is.
So, how long until somebody ties her up by her hair and cuts it?
There's no Barbara the barber beefcake out there.
Oh, because during the New Japan Cup a few days ago, Yano fought Great Khan, and he tied his long braid on the outside of the ring, and he had to cut it off to get out.
Oh my God.
So his long braid is half as long now.
The hair is going to come into factor at some point, and Sasha might be the one to do it because she does the mean girl thing. So maybe Bianca will mock her blue hair, and then Sasha will mock her giant braid, and that'll become a thing. But that's the only thing I still think is negative about her, is that she uses the braid as a factor when she doesn't need to at this point. She's talented enough on her own. That works when you're a heel, but as a babyface, I don't think it's working as well. But that's the only complaint I have about her now. Otherwise, I think she's pretty damn good. She's still not my favorite, but I can come around on people.
Like a huge issue.
It's got to be.
It's gonna be an issue at some point.
It's got to be. It just has to be. I call this one the good and the evil. Because you can say really good things about one of them and not so pleasant things about the other.
Ember Moon, current NXT Women's Tag Team Champion.
Phenomenal talent, plagued by injuries.
Well, she just had the one injury where she was gone for nearly 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
It just would not get better for a long time. But I was starting to follow her live streams on Twitch and stuff. And she'll have like her whole family on playing like Wii Sports and stuff. Some good stuff, some cool people.
I just worry about someone like her, because with injuries like that, once you get one, there's a chance that she could be dealing with quite a few of them after that. So I just hope that she stays healthy.
Dungeons and Dragons, so
yes, she is.
She was part of the people that I talked about. She was on the D&D live thing last year, live from home because Rona. But anyway, but she was on that. She was in a whole bunch of stuff.
Do you want to talk about Nia Jax?
You know what I want? Do I? I think she's actively gotten worse.
Yeah.
Over her time when you should be getting better.
Yeah. The thing is, they're kind of doing that thing where she hurts people as a gimmick, but she's also genuinely hurting people.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's very smart. And if
remember when she got it entered in the men's rumble as a punishment?
Yes, she took out R-Truth.
But it's like, this is your punishment. You get to be the fourth or fifth woman to enter, and you still get to eliminate somebody.
Yep. Every woman who's ever been to Royal Rumble eliminated somebody. Chyna eliminated Mark Henry and Chris Jericho. Beth Phoenix eliminated the Great Khali. Awesome Kong as Karma eliminated Unico. And she eliminated Mustafa Ali. I remember all that because that's an important statistic.
And they all got bumped out right after.
Yes.
Pretty much.
None of them lasted very long, but...
Especially in the case of Chyna when she eliminates Jericho, because they were both on the apron when that happened. And then Big Boss Man just goes, oosh.
But it also made sense because she was feuding with Jericho at the time, just like she was feuding with Mark Henry when she eliminated him. So at least there was an active feud going on, so it made sense there. The Beth Phoenix thing was just funny, and that actually worked because Khali didn't want to hurt the woman. And then, I mean, Awesome Kong, I can believe her eliminating anybody. But the only thing that kind of pissed me off with the Nia elimination was that it was Mustafa Ali who they gave him the Iron Man spot in that year's Rumble. He came in at an early number and made it all the way to the end, only to get eliminated by Nia Jax,
who was there as a punishment.
And it's not like being eliminated. It's not like being eliminated by a woman is a bad thing. It's just that it was eliminated by her. And even the people I know, I won't say their names, but even the people I know who are like really big feminists and really defensive of women's wrestling, even they can't stand her and want to see her go away. That says something. So let's just take that as a note here.
Kind of like the main women in AEW.
These are their top pushed women in the company.
3 of them have been champion.
Yes.
Britt is the injury bug one.
Yeah, because that's the thing. She's really talented. She's got great mic skills, and she's got an actual look and a gimmick. And she can't stay healthy, and that makes me worry about her.
But because she has all that rest of that stuff, she's able to stay relevant.
Yes.
On the show.
Because even when she's hurt, those segments with Tony Schiavone were amazing, where she would just rip on him, and he would just kind of stand there and take it. But
I mean, they got Rebel to actually do stuff.
Yeah.
Where she really originally was just signed to help them with their hair and makeup.
And then
Like she wrestled in TNA,
she went through a whole thing, yeah.
But now she keeps like calling her Reba.
And then the other three girls have talent, although I think I've said this before, but my issue with AEW has always been the way that they book the girls, and I think they've mismanaged a lot of their talent. But of all of them, I think Hikaru Shida they've done the best job with.
She's currently the longest reigning champion in the history of AEW.
Yes. Now, granted, the company is only about 16 months
2 years.
old.
Yeah.
So,
well, 2 years old if you're a little over 2 years old based upon the day they were announced, and probably about 2 years old from the first pay-per-view, right? And then
well, they debuted October 2019, so about a year and a half.
Well, that was a TV show, right? But they had like a pay-per-view in like March or April, I think.
They had the All Out was the lead up, right?
Because they did like 3 pay-per-views before.
Yeah. Well, All In was associated with Ring of Honor, but that was the catalyst that got the company started. And then they did All Out. They did another show that wasn't televised. It was. And
they
then
did Double or Nothing. They did
All Out, Double or Nothing, and something else. Yeah, I don't remember what it was. It wasn't televised though, but it was like a charity thing.
They did like the 2 fighter. They did Fighter Fest.
Fighter Fest, yes.
And the
Fighter Fest.
And the Shooting Victims one from in Jacksonville.
Yes.
Fight for the Fallen. And those were before they were actually on TV.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, because I just noticed this after posting this picture. I believe they spelled Nyla Rose's name wrong on here. Nylia. So I hope this wasn't an official ad that I pulled. And it was... Because I just image searched these. I didn't look at the sources of where I got them from. But, yeah. Not so sure about that one. I kind of hope that's not the case,
it's from last year because it says Champion Riho.
Yes. So I don't know. It's kind of funny, but... yeah. Oh well. It is what it is, right?
And then Shida just recently had her last title defense was against Ryo Mizunami, a winner of a tournament, where they brought in a bunch of Japanese girls and then a bunch of the regular girls. And Ryo Mizunami won the tournament. And Maki Ito is back in Japan, and she doesn't have dates to come back, but her and AEW are welcome to iron out the details. Oh, it's that slut.
Penelope Ford. She's so friggin' good.
Penelope.
She should team up with Pentagon. It's gonna be Pentagon and Penelope.
Pentelope.
She's so friggin' good, though. I think she's really talented.
She really turned around as soon as she dumped Joey Janela.
Imagine that. She dumps a guy who's never been formally trained, and suddenly she gets good.
And then she's with Kip Sabian now.
Who actually has some talent.
And I think, are they officially married, or are they just storyline married? No.
I do not know. I don't actually know how that goes.
I follow both of them on Twitch, and I don't know this. And they both have Twitch channels.
I don't know either. But...
And that's the storyline they put Miro in, which has been fun, but not a great utilization of Miro as a talent.
No. Not in any way, shape, or form. But she's been good for what she's done, so... Nothing negative to say about her.
NWA. See, the funny thing about the NWA women's title is that the center plate, instead of putting it in their name on it or a logo on it, they put their fucking picture in the middle.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So with NWA not having done a show in a year, they needed ways to stay relevant. And so they put so they got a deal to have Thunder Rosa, who was champion, show up on AEW from time to time. And now everyone loves her, as opposed to just me.
She's so good.
She was Cobra Moon in Under.
She's incredible. She's an incredible talent, and she might be one of the best active women's wrestlers not signed to the WWE. I would say she's better than everybody else on the AEW roster. Like
She's
literally
had
everybody.
Matches. She's just cheated for the title once or twice as well.
But also,
all of this, Serena Deeb came back out of retirement to do Mae Young Classic 2. And apparently she decided that she wanted to give it a whole other run, and apparently signed with NWA. Showed up on AEW, challenged Thunder Rosa for the belt, and fucking won it.
Yep. My understanding is her role in AEW is in a training capacity.
Yeah, I would imagine, yeah.
And she's probably the second best person on their roster. It's definitely Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb are the top. I think they're head and shoulders above the other girls that work there, and that even includes Hikaru Shida, who's their champion. I think these two are on a whole different level, which means I'm not saying that they should be the champions over a Hikaru Shida, but Hikaru Shida should be working programs with them to get better, to get to their level, because I think she could.
Well, I mean, she did with Rose over the summer, I think.
Yeah.
With that, but NWA is doing tapings again, so they just came back, I think, a couple weeks ago. So we might be seeing stuff again. Although there is a prevailing rumor that Nick Aldis will become the fourth member of the New Horseman stable.
Nick Aldis
in
is
AEW.
Great. Nick Aldis is so good.
Nick Aldis, how about a guy I couldn't stand for a couple of years as Magnet TNA, and now he's one of my favorites.
Now he's just so friggin' good, yeah.
And I also had to hate him because he's married to Mickie James and is the father of her children. All this heat, and I still love him.
Isn't it kind of crazy though how you can turn around on somebody that you never expected to? I kind of did that with Braun Strowman. He was my least favorite thing on the roster.
He was so bad.
And then I friggin' loved him, and now I'm kind of turning on him again. Now I don't really think he's that good anymore.
There was that awful segment last week with Shane. Oh my god, that was so awful and awkward.
Yeah, well.
Did you see that segment?
Nope.
With him and Shane?
Nope.
Oh, it's so bad.
Nope.
It starts out cool because it starts out with Shane faking that the microphone was bad so he can get away from Braun so he could talk shit and not get his ass kicked immediately. But then the segment just derails, goes like, it's not off the rail. It's like a block away from the rails. It's so bad. But anyway, oh man. But yeah, but then Braun, like that was the thing about with that was that Braun and Baron Corbin were getting personal lessons from Big Show and Kane, and Braun was instantly getting better, and Baron Corbin was not. But that's what these two could be doing for the rest of the girls at AEW.
They could.
Now I'm just trying to figure out who's in the background. Who that is in the background.
I believe when I pulled this picture, it was Kimberly and I'm trying to remember who the
because match was.
Yeah, but I specifically pulled this so you could talk about the two best friends.
Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to figure out who it is in the background because obviously it's Leva and Veda Scott.
These are two girls who I have had actual conversations with. And not just about wrestling. And I think that they're very kind, very sweet people. I was Leva's first guest on her Animal Crossing island. No, because on Animal Crossing New Horizons, if you go to the airport and you just look for an island, they're like, oh, you want to go here? I can't remember the name of her island. It's a Lost reference, though, so which I didn't get. And I just show up on an island, and I'm like running around. I'm like, I don't know who this is. And all of a sudden, the little word bubble pops up from Leva. And I'm like, oh, that's who this is. Because it just takes you to a random island on your friends list. I had no friggin' clue who the hell's island I was going to. I didn't even know who really had the game at that point. And I'm just like, oh, hey. She goes, hey, you're my first visitor. And she hadn't advanced enough in the game yet to explore the rest of her island. So, like, I hopped over her river, and there were just a ton of weeds on the other side, so I just weeded for her. And I said, hey, I got some of your weeds taken care of for you. She's like, I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm like, no, I get it, because the only reason I got as far as I did right away was because the week the game came out was the week I went into quarantine because my wife and I had been exposed to COVID in case we had gotten it. So I had to go into quarantine for a couple days until I was until the exposed person came back negative. Because someone was exposed directly and we were exposed to that person. Yeah. So it was that whole chain of command there. And, you know, at the time she was on the road with AEW, so she didn't get to play as much as she wanted. So I don't fault her for that. But Veda I've worked with on the independents in the Northeast. She's very sweet. She's very knowledgeable. She's really friggin' good at what she does.
And she has her law degree.
And she has a law degree, exactly.
Which is why she didn't get started wrestling until she was in her 30s. She's like our age. But she's only been around for like 8 years.
Yeah. But that's the other thing is I'm really, really happy to see Leva signed with AEW because she was incredibly talented. I've always felt like these companies were missing the boat on her. And we watched that Impact pay-per-view that they were on where she was dressed like Alex Reynolds from Clockwork Orange, and Josh Matthews, I forget if he was the one that explained who she was or was the one who didn't know what she was supposed to be cosplaying as.
Yeah, because they would both be on that with the Knockouts, Knockdown, or whatever it's called. It was like a yearly, one night only, whatever.
Yeah.
Where they would bring in like 6 or 8 outside girls, and they would all wrestle an established Impact woman. And then at the end, there'd be like a gauntlet match at the end. And they would both be on. They would both be on it.
It was a good show, and they were both on it. But I remember that distinctly, just laughing, and I remember saying, why isn't anybody signing this girl? And then along comes All Elite Wrestling, and they had that thing out where they were looking for somebody to play a librarian character because that was a gimmick Tony Khan came up with. He had
just to give a joke on TNT, the TV show that he just canceled.
And
I love that show.
I remember seeing her audition video. And I'm like, they'd be foolish to not pick her. And then she ended up getting the role along with Peter Avalon because
they picked the 2 best people.
They did, yeah. The two best people who auditioned for the role got it.
The funniest thing is because it was all on Being the Elite. And it was funny because it was like 2 of the guys hired Leva and 2 of the guys hired Avalon. And they're just like, oh shit, we just hired 2 people for one job. What do we got to do?
Well,
they both signed a deal, so I guess they'll just do it together.
And it works. And again, she's so talented, and yet she's just not a featured person. But it is what it is. I do know she was as excited as she was to go to All Elite Wrestling full time. She was upset that she had to leave her job at Universal. She'd been there forever in entertainment, but there was just no way she was going to be able to dedicate to both. So, but it is what it is.
And Veda is engaged to Speedball Mike Bailey.
That's right. This is the final picture in the slideshow. But of course, I had to include this.
This is all the girls that were part of the Rumble one year.
This is the inaugural Royal Rumble roster.
I see Molly in the middle top.
Yes. It's
doing her Finn Balor impression.
Yup. I always love that. It's Kairi Sane, Naomi, Mandy Rose, and Sonya Deville, who at the time were aligned with Paige in Ascension. You got Becky Lynch. You got Jacqueline, who was the oldest competitor in there. I remember her pointing that out when they did the behind-the-scenes special. You have the Bella Twins, Molly, and then all 3 members of the Riot Squad, when the Riot Squad was still whole at the time. Sasha Banks, Mickie James, Ember Moon. And on the bottom, you got Vicky, which was one of my favorite inclusions in that match. You have Bailey, Carmella, who was Ms. Money in the Bank. You have Lana. Tamina, who I thought was underutilized. Michelle McCool, who was overutilized. Good old Nia Jax. Lita and Trish, of course, which I was surprised to see Lita actively compete and do a moonsault. You have Tori. You have Lana. You have Kelly Kelly, Asuka, the eventual winner, Natty Neidhart, and Beth Phoenix, which was a great inclusion as well. Paige and Foxy were the two that had to be replaced, and I'm pretty sure
Paige just had her career ended.
Yes.
Like a week or two before.
And then Foxy got hurt, and I believe the two inclusions were Kyrie and Ember Moon, because they were on the NXT roster, and they said, well, we're just going to utilize them, because Ember made sense because she was women's champ at the time. But she had just had that grueling battle at the TakeOver, so she came out injured. And then Kyrie was the last minute replacement because they didn't have her music right. They still had her Mae Young music instead of the new theme she got. So you can tell that was just shoehorned. But one of my all-time favorite women's matches was this Inaugural Rumble. As good as the Women's Rumble is, I don't think it was as good as this one. Because this one featured, it's almost historic. It featured all the legends. It got some really good comedy moments. Everybody who came in got a spot and got to do something. Young girls got elevated by working with older girls. So I think it just worked. And then Asuka won, which probably was the only thing I didn't like about it, because not that I didn't want to see Asuka win, but because she was on that undefeated streak, so I was like, well, she's going to win this because she's undefeated. It was a little too predictable.
And then she lost to Charlotte.
Well, yes, she did. But yeah, Charlotte and Alexa were the only two top active girls not competing because they were the champs.
So they sat there at ringside and just watched an hour-long Rumble.
I think they could have just done it for a historic thing and not necessarily had it with the title on the line for the very first one and included the two of them, with the stipulation being that the next night on Raw, Asuka could have come out and said, the winner always gets to fight the champion. Well, I won, so I want to fight the champion. But, of course, there's also negativity behind this Rumble because of the Ronda Rousey debut at the end, which some of the girls feel like stole the thunder. But
and then after that, Shinsuke Nakamura won from the horrible number 14 spot.
That was actually before that.
Actually, yeah, it was before that, because this
was the main event, which was also the right move, was to put this on last. But, yeah. Well, Dan, that's all, folks.
That's 20. Okay.
What'd you think? Good memories, or
good friends, great memories?
Great friends, great memories. All right. Well, how'd you guys like this this slideshow format of 20 pictures here? I don't know. Did you like it? Did you not like it? I don't really care. Just leave a comment, hit the thumbs up or thumbs down. I do. Hey, I do this for us to entertain ourselves and to entertain the people who like stuff. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But next time, Dan is going to prepare a slideshow for me. I don't know what that is. Doing? I don't know what that is, but that'll be next time. So see you guys.
Bye.